What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Gotta Get Back, the Samurai Jack and Review Show. My name is Kyle, your host. Welcome to Project Potter, guys. Welcome to episode 55 of the Samurai Jack and Review. If you guys haven't seen the show before, welcome. What we do is a recap of every episode of Samurai Jack. We do a favorite character, favorite scene, a score out of 10, and some trivia at the end. Kicking it off here, guys, with the recap. If you remember last time we left Jack, he was like left for dead, basically. He used his tuning sword against the rocks to kind of blow himself into the water, and he pretty much passed out, and he's like bleeding out in the water. We saw that along with the wolf that we saw last time. So we pick it up right where we left off. Jack is flowing, just going right down this river. He's unconscious. He's bleeding. It's not looking good. He eventually goes onto like a log, and there's a lot of time that passes because it shows up to like afternoon. And then it comes back down to the moon. So it's been at least like half a day. And Jack is clinging to this log, and he's like about to pass out. And then all of a sudden there's a frog on the log. Didn't mean to rhyme there, but here we are. And the frog says, "They're coming." And it's like, yeah, most likely like in Jack's head, because one, frogs don't talk, and two, it's just kind of crazy. So a little trippy there, but Jack eventually goes to shore. He like is now kind of in a panic mode, that he's like fearing for his life. And it's like really cool with its dark animation, but he's got like these red like cuts all over, which looked kind of cool visually, but also I was like, dude, you don't have like bloody cuts all over. You have one bad stab wound. And it's like, I don't know. But anyway, Jack is like in the darkness, and he's got like a bloody hand, and he goes and touches one of the trees, and he leaves a bloody handprint, of course. But he's kind of walking through. He sees in the distance the ancestor with the green samurai, where Mad Jack was telling him like, hey, isn't it easier to kill yourself and join your ancestors? Well, Jack goes into a cave. There's a really cool shot of him, like he's just like black and like half red now, or so like he's bleeding all over himself, basically. He's still got the knife in there, and so it is cool visually. But he ends up like using all of his remaining strength to take the knife out and pass out in the cave. So we go over to nighttime, and Jack is like feverishly sweating, and he's not doing well. And our old friend Mad Jack comes back. And Mad Jack, he's like all blue and white, and he's wearing like Samurai Jack's classic attire. But this Mad Jack, he has got like a really skinny face, and his body's all disproportioned, and he's clearly like evil. And he's talking about how he's like, you doing all right? He's like, oh, this must be the human you killed, right? He's like, yeah, this is the first human you've ever killed. He's like, it's been nuts and bolts until now, like mounds of robot corpses. But he's like, this one feels different, doesn't it? He's like, so the other 6 are coming after you. He's like, so that's 6 more kills you need to make. He's like, unless you want them to kill you. He's like, is that what you want? And I was like, oh, this is really cool, dude. But Mad Jack, again, it's like Jack's inner demons. He's giving him a hard time. Jack eventually passes out. He sees the wolf, the bloodied red wolf, bloodied white wolf, really, but he's all red now, come over to the entrance of the cave, and Jack kind of passes out. We then get a flashback scene to young Jack, and this is the first time we see it in like the new animation style, but it's young Jack, his dad, and his mom in like the back of a carriage, and there's a guy who says like, the Emperor, we have killed all of your bodyguards. They get like ambushed, and he's like, hey, we've killed all of your bodyguards. He's like, come on out and face the music, basically. And the Emperor goes out there and just kills all the bodyguards. And this is the first time Jack remembers like his dad killing other humans. And so there's like blood that splatters on little Jack's face because he goes to like look through the opening. And so Jack like kind of comes to, he looks down. He's like, okay, I got to stitch this wound together. He like does a makeshift wound, or makes makeshift stitches, I should say. The wolf is there. He brings him like a rabbit or something to eat, and there's a fire now. And so the wolf like literally licks his wounds and licks Jack's wound, and that's kind of like his recovery phase. Jack is really cold. The wolf goes over and sleeps with him. It's cool, but this is like the first time we see that the wolf is like a real thing and not just like a figment of his imagination or a metaphor. So the wolf looks at Jack, and they have like this determined look, and then he goes off on his own. But Jack is kind of healed up now. We do get a throwback or a flashback again to Jack and his father, and this is like after the fight. Jack's father says one really, really cool line, because Jack's looking at him, and he looks over to the bloody gi, and he knows like we got to discuss this. It's like a father-son moment. And Jack's father says, the decisions you make and the actions that follow are a reflection of who you really are. And that's really cool because not only is it true, but Jack kind of carries that with him. So that like kind of re-motivates him. So Jack is like healed up now in the cave. The daughters of Aku still haven't found him, but they're looking through. They bring out the dead sister, and they say like death is a failure. They just leave her corpse there, and then they jump into the river, and they're looking around for Jack, and they follow him. They find blood, and they're like, the river leads our way. And they're walking through, and they're on the hunt to find Jack, and they go up in the tree, and they're looking out, and they can't find him, but then they find a bridge. And there's more clues. They're like, oh, there's blood on this rock. And they keep going down. They hear like a deer step on something. And so they stop and they look, which is the scene behind me. And then they get off on land and they go behind a tree and they hide. And then a doe comes up and they go, what is that? Like, and it's funny because they've never been out in the outside world. So they don't know about wildlife and deer and doe. And so they're like, what is that? And they're like, I don't know. And they're like, do we kill it? And they're like, I don't know. And they're like, something else is coming. And a deer comes over with antlers. And they think the antlers are with Aku. And they're like, Aku's minions. And I'm like, oh man, that's pretty funny. But it comes over and they do like the Eskimo kisses with the deer and the doe. And they're like, what are they doing? They're like, I don't know. And it's just a funny little bit. Like they're freaking out because they've never seen a deer before. But one of the daughters is like, hey, look. And they find Jack's bloody footprint, not bloody handprint, sorry. And at this point, I was like, so you happen to get off all of the trees and all of the land. You happen to get off at the same exact point of the one tree that Jack touched. It's like, all right, that was a little far-fetched. But they get off and they kind of start running. And then it's all foggy. And then we get this awesome scene where Jack is like up in the trees or whatever. He's in the fog and he's talking to them. And they're like, come out, you coward. And that's when Jack repeats his line that his father told him. And he says, the decisions you make and the actions that follow are a reflection of who you really are. And he's like almost done saying it. And one of the daughters is like, shut up. And he's like, of who you really are. And so he throws, this is the part where visually it was cool, but I was like, all right, I don't know how I feel about this. So Jack kind of throws a spear out of the blue and it just gets one of the daughters and she's dead immediately. So he was struggling so much with his first human. And it's like, dude, don't worry, because Jack is now ready to massacre. He's over that initial guilt, and he's like, let's go, dude. Like the battle's on now. So yeah, he throws a spear, hits one of the daughters of Aku right in the face, basically. One of the other one throws like a little dagger. It hits like a crow. Jack pops out from the dark, and then throws another spear, and it gets another one. And I was like, okay, the first time was really cool. The second time, I was like, you're killing two daughters of Aku with the same spear. Or like a different spear. I was like, all right. So now we're down to 4. So if you guys remember, there were 6 to start, and now 2 of them just get taken out by a spear. I didn't love this because I was like, you're supposed to be these lethal, like combat, fully trained warriors, and the first one gets taken out by a spear. Super cool. And then you're standing there, and then it happens again right after, and I was like, dude, that should have been one. Like it should be a real challenge to take out every single one of these daughters of Aku. They should be that good where it's like Jack has to do everything he can to take them out. Nonetheless, he takes out 2 of them, so it's down to 4 now. They start chasing him. They go like through these trees, up and around. We get the horizontal shot that Gendy always loves to do. And then Jack kind of comes to a spot where he's got to take them on like one-on-one. And so it's like the 4 of them. It's a really cool scene where he's got this little like blade and he's swinging around and he's throwing it. He takes one of the blades from one of the daughters and he actually ends up using that to like jump and then like throw it in the air and it like pins her against the tree, so it kills her. So now it's down to 3, and Jack's got like this club that he took. So he's basically like not only is he taking away their weapons, but he's using them against them. And this is like full strength Jack now. So he's motivated and he's ready to go, and he's learned from the first encounter. So the 3 daughters left, they like kind of work together and they all have the different weapons. And so they have like scythe with the chain and, the spear and then the 2 daggers. And they're like, they get some good licks in on Jack, but eventually he fights it off and he like hits them. So they kind of just disperse, and it's the 3 of them, and he's swinging like madly and he runs out of energy. So the music's going, and like, then he's like running out of breath and he starts running up a tree. And then it's like a really cool side shot where he's running and they're both looking at each other. and he goes up the tree and he climbs far, and it's like super athletic, obviously, but he comes to the end of a tree. The three of them are on there. It's a really cool shot, and then like it slowly fades into the background, and there's like a huge mountain area, and there's just a huge drop underneath. But Jack has a super determined look at his face, and so the first daughter, he drops his like spiked bat or whatever, or his battering ram. He drops that, and the first daughter comes at him with a spear. He just jumps over and kicks it, and like basically like does some damage where it looks like he kind of broke her neck by kicking first, but she's just kind of injured. She swipes at him. He kind of like moves around, and he just throws her off the cliff. He just straight up is like, I'm going to muscle you off this cliff. So there's two left now. The second daughter of Aku comes at him. She's running at him with the two daggers, and he focuses himself, and then he just punches her, dude, and just snaps her neck all the way around, and she's instantly dead and just falls off the cliff. And I'm like, yo, dude, this Jack, like, again, now he's killed 5 people at this, or this would be the 6th person he's killed at this point. So he's like, I'm good. And so there's one daughter of Aku left, which is really cool. But also I was like, dude, these are supposed to be, like I said, highly trained. We hyped them up with the training montage, and now he's just taking them out like one after the other. So the one remaining daughter of Aku is coming at him, and she's the one who's got like the chain and the scythe, and they're going at each other, and they kind of, there's a cool bit where they like wrap around the log and they kind of clash in the air a couple times. But when she throws the scythe at Jack with the spike, Jack actually just puts his arm up and like catches it, and it like bloodies him a little bit, but he's like, bro, this is nothing for me, which was sick. He's just like, boom, like he just catches it basically with his wrist, even though it like digs into his skin. And so eventually, like, yeah, they clash a couple times, and then she's hanging, and she's like, Samurai, you will die. She's like, I promise you nothing will stop me until I get your death, or whatever. She's yelling at him, and her mask falls off, so we realize this is Ashi. And Jack is just like sitting there, and he's like slowly pretending to listen, and he just like unwraps the chain, and he just lets go, and she falls into the like abyss, basically. And we're like, oh, okay, I guess they're all dead. And Jack is standing there. And then the log breaks, and then Jack falls down. And it's like, oh, that's a nice little twist. And I was like, so are they both dead? We don't know, but that's how the episode ends. Okay, guys, for the magic sword for this week, it's got to be Jack. I mean, the fact that he is like clinging to life, and then it like gets just enough time to go over, and the White Wolf kind of licks his wounds and heals him, was a nice little moment. But yeah, I mean, he takes on 6 daughters of Aku and takes them all out. Not to mention he killed the 7th one the episode before. So it's like he literally has like a 1-on-7 for these highly trained specialists, and he just takes them all out. So he was just badass and awesome, and I like that he kind of got his mojo back, and the flashback was really cool. So yeah, Samurai Jack gets my magic sword for this week. Okay, guys, the portal in time for this week, I'm actually going to go with the deer scene, where the daughters of Aku come up and there's deer there. I really, really love the dialogue there, where they were like, what is that? And it was like completely quiet except for the dialogue. And it was just really nice, because I was like, oh yeah, they've never been in the outside world, so they don't know something as simple as a doe or a deer or any of this stuff, because they were born in the high priestess's like fortress there, and all they did was train, so they don't know anything. They saw a glimpse outside, and they were like, that's the sun, that's the grass, and that's about it. And they didn't know any animals or anything like that. But yeah, it's super cool, and I really like that scene. So that scene where they first see the deer, and just their reactions to it has got to be my portal time for this week. Okay, guys, for a score for this one, I wasn't super crazy about most of this episode. The ending is good, so I'm going to give this one a 7.5, just because I found myself kind of not bored during it, but like Jack floats down the river for way too long, and then they're just tracking him, and I was like, all right, but we knew that was going to happen anyway. The fact that they find him within the episode, and I didn't love the fact that he killed, well, presumably he definitely killed 5 of them, and then Ashi, we don't know if she's going to survive or not. And so there were 7 daughters of Aku, and they built them up, and there was this awesome one, and he killed one last episode, and I was like, all right, there's still 6 more to go. He kills 5 of them like no problem. I mean, with like a minimal fight, but it's like punch to the neck, throw over the cliff, and it's just like, I was hoping there would be more of a challenge. Like I would have liked to somehow dedicate like one episode each to one of the Daughters of Aku, and he fights them like one-on-one, and they all have specialties, and they all challenge him to the max. And instead, it's like he just throws them over the cliff and snaps their neck, and it's like. But yeah, I like the initial guilt where he's like cold sweat, and he's like, I can't believe I killed a human, and then he just gets over it, and he's like, oh, actually, I'm a murderer, dude. He's like, I am a serial killer. I will assassinate all of them. But yeah, just an okay episode, I would say. Okay, guys, Jack facts for this week. There's one in here that's a spoiler, so I'm going to skip over that one. But here it's revealed that the wolf from the previous episode is an actual creature within the Samurai Jack universe and not simply a storytelling device. It's also revealed that the wolf from the previous episode has survived this fight with the tigers. So that was cool. We thought it was just a parallel or just a metaphor. It was an actual wolf that helped Jack heal. So, and then it went on his own way. And then as of this episode, the end of this episode, Jack has killed a total of 6 people. So that's good for him, man. He's just getting off the schneid, you know? And then it's revealed in this episode that Jack's father has killed people before and how Jack witnessed him killing the bandits. The Emperor cites one of the 8 virtues of Bushido after killing the bandits, which in this case is honor. Funny enough, the bandit who tried to kill the Emperor is voiced by Keon Young, and he actually did a younger version of the Emperor in The Birth of Evil Part 1 and Part 2. So he actually played the Emperor in those one where he creates Aku, which is funny. And then the frog, which Jack encounters, is most likely a hallucination as it disappears when Jack loses consciousness, and there's no way it could have known that the Daughters of Aku were coming or who they are when they're chasing Jack. So, yeah, that frog was a hallucination, but it was cool. It was a little Jack telling him, Jack's body telling him like, yo, we gotta get out of this. So interesting tidbit here, guys. The bandits who ambushed Jack's family strongly resemble those who confronted the samurai, and Jack remembers the past. This suggests that both bands belong to the same affiliation. Both groups ambushed 2 respective samurai, suggesting a motive of the former's efforts in the elimination of the latter. So that's pretty cool. We do have a few goofs here, guys. So for the first one, in the previous episode, the sister that Jack had killed was shown bleeding from her neck after she died. However, there are no marks or blood on her neck at the beginning of this episode. That's a little one, but presumably they clean that up. When Jack is first seen floating, his dagger is not seen until after he was about to fall down the waterfall. So just another little thing. When Jack first enters the cave, he is shown covered in blood from his hair and body, but as he sits down, his blood is only on his body. So that one's a little bit more obvious. When the daughters are alerted to Jack's presence and form a circle, 2 of them have the same weapons, which is the dual sai, or the little daggers there. I didn't pick up on that, honestly. When the daughter throws one of her sai at the bird, she still has them both when Jack throws his spear at them. So she throws a dagger, it hits the bird. Jack throws a spear and kills her, but she still has 2 daggers. So that's just a little continuity issue there. And the last one here, guys, when Jack is tired and runs away from the 3 remaining daughters, 2 of them are in front of him while Ashi is behind. But as the chase goes on, somehow Ashi is with her sisters at the front rather than the back. Hey, dude, maybe Ashi is athletic and maybe she caught up, okay? So I'm going to excuse that one. But yeah, those are our Jack facts for this week. All right, guys. Well, that is it. That's another episode of Gotta Get Back. So that's 55 episodes down. We got 7 more to go here, guys. So thanks for checking out Project Potter. Thanks for checking out Gotta Get Back. Like, comment, subscribe, bring that bell notification. And until next time, guys, gotta get back.